Hello there. It is Sunday, January 9th, 2022, and I am sitting here with Miss Mia Esme having a quiet moment. Kay and the big kids are out at a grocery store, and I was just sitting here, kind of forced into a quiet time because my hands were occupied when I was handling Mia and doing other things, and so I was like, wow, I haven't had time to sit and think for like a couple years. But then I was like, oh, I should take this opportunity to just start trying to capture some of the birth story and things because it was crazy. Um, I had every intention of having like cool videos captured of being in labor, kind of similar to what I had. I have one of me talking, just kind of documenting things the night I was in labor with Seiji, which I just loved that video. Never made one when I was in labor, partly because it was not documentable. So mom and dad were here for several days thinking, to be ready. And for several days I was having these mild contractions, but they never amounted to anything. Stopped every night. I started joking, like, I'm never going to have the babies. It's not going to happen, all those things. And then, get my days right here. Thursday night, when we were like eating dinner and then playing cards afterward, for the first time, I was having ones that were like, oh, these are like a little something different, like a little painful. Could talk through it, but it, like, required the deep breath to get through the contraction kind of level. We had a fun night playing cards. I don't think there's anything really otherwise notable, just kind of another normal night. But I did have a sense that it was like action. Excuse me, I sound like a horse. And then we went to bed, and that night I woke up a few times with which was itself progress because I had never been waking up with contractions. They had stopped completely overnight in these past ones. But then the Thursday night ones, I was waking up, feeling them, and a couple times I was like, oh, maybe I'll try to time them. But then I would fall asleep or they were infrequent. And I was like having a contraction and then falling back asleep and having a contraction and falling back asleep. So it didn't seem like extremely serious, but nonetheless progress, which was great. I think around 4:30 or 5, Seiji came in and was snuggling and stuff. So it got to a point where I had to wake up Kay to be like, Kay, I need you to kind of occupy Seiji when I was having a contraction because it was too hard to have a 3-year-old tackling me while I was trying to just kind of manage it, which was, again, progress. And then I'm guessing, I don't really remember, but I'm guessing Seiji just stayed with Kay. I think I said I'm going to go take a shower. I forget. But one way or another, I got myself into the shower. And I turned on, we have this like red heater lamp in our shower room. And I turned on that, not normal light. So it was kind of this like glowy light. And I had videos of birth affirmations with like nice meditative music in the background by a YouTuber named Bridget Taylor, I think is her name, which hit the spot. And I referred to this later as like the most blissed out shower ever, which maybe I'll just tell the story of the shower and then finish the video another time. But so this shower, I was having contractions. I have no sense exactly of how long the intervals were, but they were strong for sure. And I was like leaning over and putting my hands on the kind of like back side opposite the faucet and like kind of bending over. And the contractions were kind of, it wasn't back labor, but they were aching in my like sacrum. So I was able to bend over and the water was hitting like right in the right spot on my lower back. And it was just like so nice. And then it sounds insane. And I recognize that most people think I'm insane, but I'm a big believer in A, that women are built to birth, and B, that there is like a like what how you approach it in your mind matters a lot. And this like totally played into both of those because I got into this headspace where I was thinking I'm going to try to move with the contraction, not just take it or not just wait for it to end. I'm going to like try to find it in my body kind of. Um, so in that same position, kind of like that bent over, like kind of braced myself, but in the kind of a gentle way. And I just started like almost doing a figure eight with my hips. And I just felt like I joined up with the contraction and it felt like amazing, which is very weird. I recognize it wasn't even like, oh, people talk about orgasmic birth and it's the right things pushed. It wasn't that. It was straight up contractions, but they felt like it was like another worldly experience. It was awesome, which sounds nuts. Anyways, so I did that for a while. I don't even know how long I was in there because it felt so good. I kind of lost track of all that stuff. Um, but then eventually I got out of the shower and I was like, oh, these contractions are, seeming to be more regular now. Like this is kind of exciting, more of a regular interval. And I think my mom's, well, I don't think I timed up right when I got out of the shower, but I came down and my mom was timing and they were like 7-8 minutes apart, something like that. But like it seemed like great early labor. Here we go. This is good. I was excited that the baby was probably going to come out in the next day or two is what I was thinking. Meanwhile, I should give a little more context. Mom and Dad are going to be going on a cruise. They are probably getting onto a cruise as I speak, actually. But they needed these COVID tests in order to get on the cruise. And the only way they could do it was to do like a non-appointment, like stand in line, same day result thing. So they knew they had like several hours of standing in line. And so they wanted to get there in the morning. Great. So they were going to go off and do that. In order to provide like originally the plan was Kay was going to stay home with Seiji. Scarlett had school. It was a school day. But then we kind of all agreed Seiji should go to school. So Kay had the flexibility, depending on what happened with me. Trying to think of, the other piece of context is I had a midwife appointment at 9:15 in the morning, which at the time I was like, hey, this is great. I'll just actually ask her to check my cervix and I'll have a sense of if this is like 2 centimeters might be stopping or like 4 centimeters. Woo, this is exciting. It's going to happen today. So it's like, that's nice. Like kind of like a pre-triage situation. But then I think my parents took off, or maybe it was right before right around the time people were going to be leaving. I said something to Kay about like, it's possible I'm not going to make it until 9:15. I'm not sure yet, which I'm not even sure what I was getting at. I kind of just felt the need to maybe say it out loud. But anyways, we had to handle all of these situations. So mom and dad got in their line. Kay dropped off the kids. He pointed out later that Scarlett had like insisted on going earlier than usual that day by like 15 minutes, which mattered a lot in the end. But anyway, so mom and dad go, Kay takes off with the kids, and I'm thinking like, okay, I had showered, as you know. So like, okay, I'll just, I guess, put my hair in the braids I like for birth and like make sure everything's kind of generally prepared, kind of putter around is what I was thinking. So I went upstairs and the contractions, so then I started timing my own contractions and they were like 6-7 minutes, something, still kind of, that same early labor kind of interval. Oh, I should mention, before everyone left, when we were sitting for breakfast, they almost stopped. I think I went 20 or 30 minutes and I was like, oh, here we go. This is going to stall for another day or something. Like it went from my blissed out shower, pretty regular, almost stopped, and then kind of like started back up in a seeming, normal but spaced out interval. And then I was in the bathroom going to do my hair, and I was like, okay, they're strong enough that I'm not gonna like be braiding my hair through a contraction. So I'll have to just wait till one ends, try to get through a braid, and then do the other one after the next contraction. That's like how I was game planning this whole situation, which is roughly how it worked on this side. I got a braid in my hair. I think I had to pause and hold it through a contraction, but nonetheless, got that side of my hair braided, and then started in on this side and got like a few strokes, and I was like, dang, another contraction. Oh, by the way, they were getting closer as I was timing on the app. I should have mentioned, because I was getting the like, you might be getting ready to go to the hospital soon, pack up, or whatever the app says. And then like another like 2 contractions later, I was like, go to the hospital. I'm still, by the way, home alone. So that was happening, but I mean, I always kind of think those apps are, so I'm not going to take my advice completely from an app. But anyway, started in on side 2, got a little bit barely going, and I was like, oh shoot, another contraction. So I was like, tried to hold it, and I was like, forget it, I'll just restart it. And like leaned over on the bathroom counter, like waiting for the contraction to kind of work through. And I was like, okay. And it like didn't really stop. And I was like, I'm not sure. And I think at one point I was like, maybe it stopped, and I should just stand up and try again. And I like stood up, like, no, definitely need to stay down. So I like went back down, and then it was like several minutes in. I remember looking at the contraction timing app. I'm like, well, this is useless because there's starts and stops is the whole point, and there's no end. And I was like, oh my God, could this be transition? Like, because I know what that is, and I've experienced it before, and I remember just that feeling of them like crashing in on each other like waves, like I was like, that can't be what this is, right? I was like very like mentally aware of all of that. And I remember debating, because Kay was going to grab Starbucks. I remember being like, should I tell him skip Starbucks? I don't think we have time. And I was like, am I being crazy? Like, is this real? I was very like all these questions in my head. But I was like, in that debate, and then I heard him come in. I was like, oh, I don't have to deal with the Starbucks question. That's nice. And he like came upstairs, and I was like, you need to call the number to tell both the hospital and alert the midwives that we have some serious stuff happening. And I'm sure he could tell from me that things are serious. But he like gets on the phone, and I won't make fun of him, but he's struggling to describe this situation, just like, my wife's having strong contractions, and I was like yelling out, like, say the word transition, tell them they're not stopping. I don't even remember, but it was kind of this like funny little interval. And then, but this number was like a call center that told everyone else what's going on, and I could tell they didn't take it very, like the other person on the other end of the line was probably like, yeah, we get these calls all the time. People think they're in labor. Like they're like asking dumb questions and like saying, oh, the midwife will call you when she's available or something. And I was like, forget it. We don't have time for this. We're getting in the car. So I like rounded us up. And I want to make a video with Kay where we talk about some of these antics, because the combination of me being in a constant state of contractions and him being jumpy in stressful situations sometimes, it made for some funny things, which we'll tell, but just for the record, one of the really funny ones was I couldn't get my shoes on. So I like told him to grab my Chucks, which if he were sitting here, would say he thought that was a poor choice. But they're, for me, the easiest slip-on shoe. You just pop them on. I keep the laces really loose, so it's not like tying anything. He like holds up the shoe, and they're, Converse are floppy. I was like, oh, we'll pull up the tongue. Like kind of half pulls up the tongue, and I was like, you have to hold the back of the shoe. I was like, don't you know how to put shoes on? Or some meanish line that I said to him that we've laughed a lot about since. So that was like one of our little favorites. There was others too, but the shoe one was probably our favorite. Anyways, we get into the car, and I'm like on my right side, like kind of facing out and bracing against the passenger version of the dash, that front part. So obviously no seatbelt, couldn't do that. And Kay did a very good job. I give him I give him a hard time about his behavior under stress, but he handled the driving very well. In terms, it was like a 20-minute drive to the hospital, and I'm sitting here feeling like pelvic pressure. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have a baby in a car. Which is really funny because there's another YouTuber who is hilarious, Brittany Kelly, she had a baby in a car, and she has a video where she and her husband it's like right after it happened, and like they're still in shell shock, and it's funny. But I remember in that one, or in one of her other videos where she's describing it, she was talking about being in the car. She was like, it's not like any woman wants to have a baby in the car, but there's a certain time when it doesn't matter what you want or what you think you have control over. Your body just takes over, and like, when it's time to push, it's time to push. And she at one point was like, I didn't push, the baby just came out, or something like that. And I'm thinking about this, and I'm feeling this pelvic pressure, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to stop this. So I was like really trying to like stay calm and like not like brace, but like pull up gently, try to like, don't push, like don't go down anymore for a few minutes here, baby. And we get there and park, and like right as we park, my water breaks. Oh, I forgot, my mucus plug dropped right before we got into the car too, or I lost it or whatever. So there's kind of like signs happening quickly. We like parked at the hospital, water broke in my pants. I felt like I peed my pants or whatever. I'm waddling wet-legged into this hospital, and it is fortunately a small, nice little place. We walk in, and there's like a check-in area. There's another couple checking in like normal people, and we come walking in, and I was like, oh no, we can't wait our turn here. And Kay said something like, my wife's in labor, we don't have time, we got to go. So she like handed him a sticker or something and sent us on our way. Like entered a hallway, turned left, labor and deliveries right at the end of the hallway through these doors. He goes to the doors and like pushes that hospital button on the side, and they don't open because they're those hospital doors. You need it's like security or whatever. They're not just open. And I thought, like, that's it. These, like, whoever's on the other side of this door doesn't understand the emergency situation here. I cannot breathe this baby up anymore. Like, she is coming. I am having serious urges now. And I was just like, that's it. I'm having a baby in a hallway. I can't get past the doors. But somebody on the other side did see us or hear whatever the alarm is and open the door. I walk up to labor and delivery, and they're like, write her name and date of birth on this paper. And I was like, no, this is my third baby. I have a serious urge to push. We need to go. So they like asked if we had called ahead, which we had because Kay had that call. And they said the room number, and I like looked over at the hall, saw the room at the end of the hall, and just like marched in there. Kay's right behind me. And they were saying something about putting on a gown. And I was like, okay, I brought this black shirt / nightgown thing I would prefer to have. Can you grab the black shirt? And he starts holding up all this other random stuff from the bag, and I was like, F it, we don't have time for the black shirt. Just took off like everything, got on the bed on like all fours, like leaning on the back of the bed. Oh, they're back. To be continued.